just being rude. She was like, "Why are you over here? You could leave. Bye." I'm like, "You in LA, you in my city now. You can't be out here disrespecting people. Like, if you wanted us to leave, you could have just politely said, 'Oh, I'm not in the mood,' or something, right? Instead of just yelling at me." So she kept going on, then she calls me a bitch. So after she calls me a bitch,
This is the moment the internet completely lost control, because what started as a normal public outing allegedly involving Ice Spice quickly spiraled into something nobody expected to see unfold in real time. According to circulating claims and viral commentary, a simple interaction inside a fast food spot turned tense within seconds. Words were exchanged, emotions escalated, and what should have been a calm public moment allegedly shifted into a heated confrontation that people are still arguing about online. But here's where things get even more intense, because viewers aren't just debating what was said, they're breaking down how fast the energy changed. One moment it looked like a casual encounter, and the next, it turned into shouting, pressure, and a situation that many are calling completely out of control. And now social media is split right down the middle. Some people believe this was a clear misunderstanding that escalated tone, disrespect, and miscommunication in a public setting. Others are saying the reaction was unnecessary and the situation could have been handled completely differently before it ever reached that level. But the real question everyone is asking is this: how does a normal moment in public turn into a viral controversy involving a major celebrity, heated claims, and thousands of online reactions within hours? Because once the clip started spreading, the narrative stopped being simple. It became layered, emotional, and extremely divided, with fans, critics, and observers all trying to piece together what really happened in those moments. And what you're about to hear next breaks down exactly why this situation has taken over the internet, and why people still can't agree on who is right or wrong. And that's exactly where the confusion begins, because once the clip started circulating online, everyone suddenly had a different version of the story. Some viewers claim the situation escalated after a simple interaction turned into a heated exchange. Others insist it was a misunderstanding blown out of proportion by social media edits and reactions. But what cannot be denied is the fact that the moment involving Ice Spice instantly turned into a viral debate across every platform. Because in today's world, context is everything, and yet context is often the first thing that gets lost when something goes viral. What makes this situation so explosive is not just what people think happened, it's how quickly people formed opinions without knowing the full picture. One short clip, one angle, one reaction, and suddenly the internet has already decided the narrative. And that's where the tension builds. Because depending on who you ask, you'll hear completely different interpretations. Some say it looked like disrespect led to confrontation. Others say it looked like pressure, miscommunication, and emotions clashing in a public space where things got out of hand too fast. But what stands out most is the reaction cycle that followed. The moment the clip surfaced, it didn't just stay as a video, it became content. People slowed it down, rewatched it, added commentary, stitched reactions, and turned a single moment into a full-blown online courtroom. And once that happens, the truth becomes harder to separate from opinion. Now here's where things get deeper. Because what many viewers are actually reacting to is not just this specific incident, but a larger pattern of how celebrity interactions in public spaces are constantly under a microscope. Every facial expression, every word, every tone becomes material for viral debate. And that pressure changes everything. Imagine being in a normal public setting, just trying to move freely, and suddenly realizing that anything you say or do can be recorded, clipped, uploaded, and judged by millions of people in seconds. That's the reality surrounding modern fame. And that's why situations like this explode so fast. Because people are not just watching what happened, they are projecting their own assumptions onto it. Some viewers immediately side with the idea that celebrities should always maintain composure no matter what. Others argue that celebrities are still human beings who react emotionally when pushed into uncomfortable situations. And that debate alone is enough to divide an entire comment section. But what really fuels the fire is uncertainty. Because no matter how many clips are shared, no one seems to have the full unedited sequence of events. That gap in information is exactly what allows speculation to grow uncontrollably. And in that gap, narratives are born. One side believes the situation reflects disrespect toward a public figure. The other side believes it reflects overreaction in a misunderstood interaction. Both sides are confident. Both sides are emotional. And both sides believe they are right. That's why this moment is not fading away. It keeps getting reposted, reanalyzed, and reinterpreted every hour. But there's something deeper happening underneath all of this. Because this isn't just about one incident anymore. It's about how quickly public perception can shift based on incomplete information. It's about how fast judgment is made before facts are even confirmed. And it's about how internet culture amplifies conflict instead of resolving it. And that amplification creates pressure on everyone involved, even those watching from the outside. Now, another layer to this situation is how people interpret behavior in public spaces differently depending on tone, environment, and personal bias. What one person sees as disrespect, another sees as miscommunication. What one person sees as escalation, another sees as defense. And when those interpretations collide online, you get chaos. That's exactly what's happening here. And the more people talk about it, the more complex it becomes. Because now it's not just about the alleged incident itself, it's about what people believe it represents. For some, it represents the challenges celebrities face when dealing with unwanted attention or confrontational energy in public spaces. For others, it represents accountability and expectations of behavior when you are in the public eye. And neither side is willing to fully back down. That's what makes this so viral. It's not just the moment, it's the argument behind the moment. And as discussions continue, more clips, reactions, and breakdowns keep adding layers to the narrative. Each new post tries to explain what happened, but instead of closing the case, it expands it even further. Because the truth is, viral moments rarely stay simple. They evolve. They shift. They get reshaped by every new viewer who adds their interpretation. And this situation is no different. At this point, what people are really watching is not just the original interaction. They are watching a digital debate unfold in real time. A debate about respect, perception, fame, public behavior, and how quickly things can spiral when emotions and misunderstanding collide. And whether people realize it or not. That's why this story refuses to die down. Because it's no longer just about what happened in that moment. It's about everything people think it means. The more this situation continues to circulate online, the more intense the interpretations become. To fully concede. But beneath all the noise, there's a quieter reality that often gets ignored. Most of what people are reacting to is based on fragments, short clips, partial audio, and secondhand commentary. And when fragments become the foundation of an argument, the conclusion is often shaped more by emotion than evidence. That's why the situation feels so divided. Because everyone is working with incomplete information. And incomplete information always leads to interpretation gaps. Those gaps are exactly where viral narratives grow. Now, another interesting layer is how fast the situation evolved from a simple clip into a cultural discussion. Because at this point, people are no longer just talking about what happened in the moment. They are discussing what it represents. And that shift is significant. Because once a moment becomes symbolic, it stops being about individuals and starts being about ideas. Ideas like respect, boundaries, fame, pressure, and perception. And once those ideas take over, the original event becomes secondary. But even with all the debates, one thing is clear: the internet is not done with this story yet. Every new edit, every new breakdown, and every new reaction keeps it alive. And as long as people continue to engage with it, the narrative will keep expanding. Because that's how viral culture works. It doesn't resolve quickly. It evolves continuously. And in cases like this, the evolution is often louder than the original moment itself. Now the only thing left is perspective. Some people will continue to see this as a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Others will see it as an example of public tension escalating too quickly. And many will remain somewhere in between, unsure of what to fully believe. But what cannot be ignored is how powerful perception has become in shaping modern narratives. Because in today's digital world, the story is no longer just what happens. It's what people think happens. And that difference is exactly why this situation continues to dominate conversations online. And that brings us to the final layer of this entire situation, the part where all the noise, all the opinions, and all the speculation eventually converge into one unavoidable reality. No matter how many interpretations exist online, the original moment will always remain incomplete in the public eye. Because what people are reacting to is not a full verified timeline, it's a fragmented experience shaped by edits, reactions, and emotional commentary. And that is exactly why the discussion surrounding Ice Spice continues to grow instead of settling down. At this stage, the situation is no longer just about what allegedly happened in a public setting. It has evolved into something bigger, a reflection of how quickly modern audiences form narratives, defend positions, and assign meaning to partial information. Because once a moment goes viral, it stops being owned by context and starts being owned by perception. And perception is powerful. It spreads faster than facts. It feels more convincing than uncertainty. And it rarely waits for confirmation. That's exactly why this incident has divided audiences so sharply. Some people are fully convinced they understand what happened based on tone and behavior. Others refuse to accept any conclusion without full, unedited clarity. And many are caught in between, watching both sides argue without a definitive answer. But what stands out the most in all of this is how quickly the situation became symbolic. Because now, people are no longer just talking about a single interaction. They are using it as a reference point for larger discussions about respect in public spaces, celebrity boundaries, and how interactions can escalate when emotions and perception collide. And once a situation becomes symbolic, it becomes permanent in digital culture. It gets referenced. It gets reshared. It gets reinterpreted over and over again. Even when the original moment fades, the debate around it continues. Now, another important angle that people keep returning to is the role of the public itself in shaping how these situations unfold. Because every viral moment is not just created by those involved, it is amplified by those watching. Comments, edits, reactions, and breakdowns all contribute to how the story is understood. And in many cases, they can shift the tone of the entire narrative. One video makes it look serious. Another makes it look misunderstood. Another adds emotional commentary. And suddenly, there is no single version of the truth, only competing perspectives. That's why these situations feel so chaotic. Because the more people talk about them, the more versions of the story emerge. And that creates confusion instead of clarity. But there is one consistent pattern in almost every viral incident like this: escalation through interpretation. What begins as a brief interaction becomes a debate. That debate becomes content. That content becomes reaction videos. And those reactions become part of the story itself. It's a cycle that feeds itself. And once it starts, it's almost impossible to stop. That's why this moment continues to trend, even after initial interest fades. Because people are not just watching what happened, they are participating in how it is remembered. And that distinction is crucial. Now, when you strip away all the noise, what remains is a very simple reality. Public interactions involving high-profile figures will always be magnified. Every movement, every word, every response carries weight, not just in the moment, but in how it is interpreted afterward. And that pressure creates tension. Because even normal interactions can be redefined once they become viral. A casual exchange can be seen as disrespect. A reaction can be seen as escalation. And silence can be interpreted as guilt or avoidance. That's the complexity of modern visibility. Everything means something even when it doesn't. And that's why situations like this rarely end with a clear resolution in the court of public opinion. Instead, they end with ongoing debate. Different sides holding onto different interpretations. And the original moment slowly turning into a reference point for larger conversations. But perhaps the most important takeaway from all of this is not about choosing sides. It's about understanding how quickly narratives form in the absence of full information. Because once a clip is out in the world, it no longer belongs to context alone. It belongs to interpretation, emotion, and reaction. And those forces are far more influential than most people realize. So when people look back at this situation, the real question won't just be what happened. It will be, why did everyone see it so differently? And that question leads to a much bigger understanding of how digital culture works today. Because in the end, viral moments are not just about events. They're about perception. And perception is shaped collectively by everyone who watches, reacts, shares, and discusses. Which means every viewer becomes part of the story, whether they realize it or not. And that is why this situation will continue to live on in conversations, edits, breakdowns, and debates long after the original moment fades from trending pages. Because it represents something larger than itself. It represents how fast the internet builds narratives and how hard it is to ever fully close them. And as long as people continue to revisit it, question it, and debate it, the story will never truly end. It will only evolve into the next version of itself. Now I want to hear from you on this one. Because this situation involving Ice Spice has completely divided the internet, and there's still no clear agreement on what really went down. Was this just a normal misunderstanding that escalated way too fast in a public space? Or do you think there was more tension behind the interaction that people are reading into based on what they saw online? And here's the real question that nobody can agree on right now. At what point does a public interaction cross the line from normal exchange into a viral controversy that takes over the entire internet? Because as we've seen, one short clip can turn into thousands of opinions, breakdowns, and emotional reactions within hours, and suddenly the original moment becomes something completely different depending on who's telling the story. So I want you to drop your opinion in the comments right now. No holding back. Do you think this was blown out of proportion, or was the reaction justified based on what people saw? And if you've been watching this whole breakdown till the end, make sure you hit the like button so more people can join this discussion. Subscribe to the channel for more deep breakdowns like this, because stories like this don't end here. They evolve, they get new angles, and they always come back into the conversation. Turn on notifications too, because the next update on situations like this can drop at any time, and you don't want to miss how the story develops next. Because in the end, it's not just about what happened. It's about how the internet remembers it.